Bits are incredibly complicated. Let's talk about it. Oh my god. Oh, they're so bad. Hey guys, my name's Katie. Welcome to my channel, Horse Talk. If you're new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. On my channel, I like to talk about all the things that horse people usually like to avoid talking about. I want to find out everyone's why. I want to have good, solid conversation about the things that we need to talk about as a horse community. And instead of just saying things like, well, it's because of what I've always done, tell me about your growth. Let's talk about why you've changed the things you've done because you learned a better way. Because I think that's really important. All right, so there is the extremes on both sides of the bit conversation. You have the people who are 100% anti-bit. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have the people who are, nah, you know, sometimes bit. You have the people who are always bit. And there is so much in between that terms like always, never, and I can't, or I wouldn't, those terms don't really fit with me. And here's why. There's so much out there, okay? And there's a lot that I don't understand. There's a lot of bits that are used that I don't agree with. There is a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of different types of bits, and I think that there is not enough education about bits. I myself always rode in an egg butt snaffle, or a D-ring snaffle, or a full cheek snaffle growing up. So when I rode English, growing up, where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's in the pile. Okay, it's in the pile. All right, so growing up, when I rode English, I always rode in a full cheek snaffle, okay? This might even be the one. No, it's this one. I'm pretty sure it's this one. So this is the one that I rode my English horses in because I was advised to do so. Let's see. But I started riding in a plain egg butt snaffle like this. So then when I started riding English, my trainer at the time suggested I use a full cheek snaffle, which looking back now, it made sense. So when I got my horse special, I transitioned into a full cheek snaffle. There's no brand or anything on it, so it's just your generic tack store full cheek snaffle. So when I got my mare, it made sense because it is something that helped me with her. I don't know, I can't say that I think I might actually put this bit back on her. There's a long story to that, and I'll talk about my riding history and my evolution of riding, my personal evolution of riding in an upcoming video, because I think that's gonna be a really fun video to film and to kind of give you guys an all in-depth, this is how my riding story evolved. I think that's gonna be a really fun video, so you guys will have to stay tuned for that. But, sorry, I'm like squirrel. So this is the bit that I rode in primarily as, like, I'll say 15 to probably 19. I used this bit because I rode mostly English at the time and I did a lot of jumping. So this was the bit I used. Now I'm not sure that this is the bit that, like, real jumpers, I mean, I wasn't a real jumper, I just jumped my horse. And this was the bit that I was advised to use. I don't think it was this one, because this one's like weird. It's kind of like got a little bit more of a curve, or less of a curve to it. I don't know. They're pretty much identical, but slightly different. And I feel like this is the one that I used, because this one has more of a curve to it. And I feel like this one, I don't know, either way. So these are the bits that I used then. When I was younger and primarily did like trail riding and stuff, I simply used an egg butt snaffle. This is all I ever grew up using. This is all my dad ever used. This one's got a little bit more of a curve to it in the bars than I ever used. Mine was a little bit straighter, but it was still snaffled in the middle. No fancy rollers or anything like that. Chuck, come here. I, for some reason, thought it would be a good idea to bring all the dogs with me while I film this video. I'm not sure why I thought that was a good idea. So, let me apologize in advance for my dogs. I guess, now, minus the copper portion of this bit, this would be more similar to what I grew up using, was just a egg butt snaffle. The harshest thing I ever put in my horse's mouth would be something similar to this, a shank bit with this, that's a snaffled shank bit. And I would have used this for Western shows because a curb strap and shank bit is required. I'll get more into that later. But this would have been the harshest bit I would have ever used. And I hardly ever showed Western when I was older. It was mostly English. So there's that. And then now, Chuck, Blair, good girl. Okay, so now the bit that I use mostly is this one right here. Now this bit, I kind of wish was off the bridle, but it's got a lot more feel to it than what I was using. This is, hold on. See if I can get the horse slime off of it. How often do you guys clean your bits? I'm not really good at that. I mean, if they're visibly dirty, obviously I do, but it's made by Cornet, and it's a Robart bit. I think it's like a Tom Robart bit, is that right? Tom Robart? Hold on, let me look. I have no cell phone reception in my barn. Still loading. Let's go over here. Okay, so the bit that I use primarily now, I have this in both my Makati and my my just regular snaffle bridle, is the Robert Robar bit. It's made by Cornet. I will link it in the description below, so if you guys want to check it out or if you're interested. Now the thing that I like about this bit is how fluid it is, and it's the Robert Robar made by Cornet, and it is a D-ring. So you can get them like on Amazon. So like I said, I'll put it in the link below if you guys are interested. But the thing that I like about this bit that was introduced to me is that how fluid it is. So like, it's kind of like you can move this side to side and around even. I mean, around is a little bit harder. Like, I don't know why you would move around, but side to side, and it has a lot of bend. Like there's, even in the flexion, if you notice, like it moves differently than a regular D-ring snaffle. So let me show you my regular D-ring snaffle in comparison. So this is my regular D-ring snaffle, and like there's a lot less movement. So when this bit locks up in the snaffle, you're getting a lot more like cheek pressure when you use it. So I've found that my horses typically prefer this bit because, like I said, there's a lot more fluidity to it. Because even if you have soft hands, you know, you still want to have some movement. And I just pinched my hand like right here with this bit. So I feel like tongue pinching a lot more could occur with this bit. And I had a horse that I was using this regular D-ring snaffle in, and she didn't really care for it. Like I could just tell, like she didn't have any like strong behaviors, but I could just tell she didn't like it. And I think it's because she was getting her tongue pinched. So when you hold the center of this snaffle, it pinches like where the tongue would sit on the horse. And whereas this one, because of the way that it's jointed, these move right here. Let's see if I can get it to focus. I'm probably not gonna be able to get it to focus, but the inside joint piece moves. So like if I hold this hand still, I can twist the joint as well. So I feel like that pinching is not gonna occur as much. And like I said, this bit was introduced to me by my friend Brandy. She's generally who I get my good tips from, and my horses have really enjoyed this bit. So this is the Robert Robar bit, and it's the D-ring snaffle, and I'll link it in the description below. So that is what I primarily use today. Crazy bits. Let's talk crazy bits a little bit. So my dad and I have kind of, well, it started with my dad, and now I've kind of gotten into it, where we take the craziest bits that we can find, and we buy them from like tack sales, or we buy them from like yard sales or things like that, and we hang them on the wall in the barn. And I kind of call it my what not to do section of my barn. And here's why. There are bits like these. Look at the shank on this sucker. That's crazy to me. And this is a copper bit. You can tell it's all green. And I just like, holy wow, that's a big shank on that bit. And it probably, because the shank's short here, it probably wouldn't be as bad, but imagine like having that on and like getting this part dug into the side of your face. And plus the bit is straight in here, so that in general is gonna be harder in the horse's mouth. And then this is a draft horse bit. Now I'm not sure, this one's seized up from, oh God, no, it's not seized up. Holy crap. So this one, holy crap, I thought this was seized up. This one is giant. My dad found this one, and it joints here, but it doesn't joint in the center at all. So if you were to attach the reins here, that would be a hefty pull. I don't know. I'm not a bit expert by any means, but I can tell what looks like it would hurt. This is another one. It is just a O-ring straight bit, and yeah, it's got a slight curve to it. So when it's sitting in the mouth, it's gonna hit on the bars of the horse's mouth pretty good. This is the craziest one my dad found. Look at this sucker. Look at the shanks on this thing. That's nuts. To me, okay, there's cobwebs on it. To me, like this one is crazy. So like, imagine that in your horse's mouth. But yeah, that's like, wowza. My dad just found this one last summer. It's pretty interesting. There's this one. It's got all kinds of little doohickeys on it. Places where you can hook up. I'm just not a complicated person. So like, this bit isn't that complicated, but like, there's a lot going on there, and I don't even know. So like, this is how it would sit, but like, why do you need that many options? Like, why do you need that many holes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each side. I don't get it. So that's that one. Here's this guy. Again, this has got it's snaffled, but long shanks. So it would sit this way. This way. So it's got long shanks and it would, I don't know. I don't get it. Another straight one. Here's another one. Curb strap. Get over here, Chuck. So there's that one. Yuck. So these ones we hang all up on the wall. Once I hang them back up, I'll show you guys. I lost a dog. I just lost a dog. Stay here. So that's my crazy collection of crazy bits. And I'm sure there's a lot crazier ones out there, and I always like to keep a lookout for them. If you guys have any crazy bits laying around that you don't want, mail them to me. That would be cool. Mail me your crazy bits, because I would love to hang them up in my barn, because I like to have good conversations about bad bits. Next, let's talk about, oh my gosh, they're so dusty. Should probably dust my trinkets in my barn a little more often. So somebody had commented, Yorkies are like the best and the worst barn dog ever. Well, mine is really good. My daughter's is a little bit spacey. Chuck, stay here. Okay. So, okay. Thank you for screaming on camera, dog. So, back to what I was saying. So let's backtrack to the I would never comments. I had a comment where somebody said, no horse needs a strong bit, a stronger bit. And you know, I'm gonna disagree with that a little bit. Like, I can understand your perspective and I appreciate where you're coming from, because you know, I think the majority of horses probably don't need a strong bit, but some horses need a little bit stronger of a bit. It's not because they're bad horses or because they have been ridden by bad riders necessarily. It's just that some horses don't like to stop. And I think especially if the horse has not, how do I say this? If the horse has not been, if you are not properly educated, therefore your horse is not properly educated, therefore you have a horse who will not stop. And I guess even sometimes there's some horses out there that just won't stop. Like once they get running, they sometimes won't stop. So you need to take up and take a hold of that bit and get them to stop. And like I've been around enough horses and enough different horses to know the difference. Like I can see the uneducated person with a strong bit just cranking on their horse's mouth, and I can tell the person who is educated and understands that, hey, my horse could be better at this, but he needs a little bit of stronger bit for that. So now a horse that I know, he does need a bit stronger of a bit. He uses this sliding gag bit. It's just got a little tiny slide and it's hinged in the center. It's got the cheek protectors to keep it from pinching, because I mean there would be a lot of room to pinch the side of the mouth with that. But this has been a successful bit for this horse for barrel racing, because this horse, and actually I've known two horses who use this bit. Both are very calm horses, but they just don't have, when they're doing something that they truly love, like running, they don't have that whoa mechanism that sometimes you need for your own safety. And now, I am not saying that this is a bit that I would throw on any horse because I'm barrel racing. You know, most of the time, you can get away with a snaffle bit and just a regular old, you know, egg butt or D-ring snaffle bit. But, you know, these horses are it's in them to run, like it's in them to go, and sometimes you need a little more whoa sometimes just for safety. And on a normal day, this horse will stop just fine in a regular snaffle bit, but when he's like, when he sees that barrel pattern and he's ready to go, man, sometimes you need the whoa. And I think that it is unfair to say to people or to belittle people who use a bit stronger of a bit, who use a little stronger of a bit for these situations. I think that you really need to consider the horse, the rider, and what's going on. I think that it's unfair to say that every situation is the same, because it's not. And ultimate goal, yeah, you don't want to have to use a stronger bit, but I think safety comes first for the horse and the rider. And having a little bit of a stronger bit sometimes will save the horse and the rider on some occasions. And don't go saying that I condone all bad horse bit behavior, because that's clearly not what I'm saying. And if that's what you heard, then listen again. So one of the biggest issues that I have is that this style bit with a curb strap being required for kids to use on a horse that is over the age of 6. Now this is a general 4-H rule, and this is a general horse show rule. And I understand that the purpose is, or the thought is, that any horse that's being shown that's over the age of 6 should be a bridle horse. Now, if you don't know what a bridle horse is, I really am not the person to explain that, so you should find a couple other, I'll see if I can find a couple other good YouTube videos. The one that I really like, I tried to find for you guys to put in the description below, but I couldn't find it. So I'll keep looking, and I'll try to add some stuff in the description below, so that if you don't know what a bridle horse is, you can go look it up. But so I understand that that might have been the thought process when these rules were first created, but I feel like that should be changed, because there are a lot of horses out there that can get along just fine, especially considering the biggest population of, like, let's say county fairs or small town shows are simply kids riding their horses. Why we need to put their horse in a stronger bit if it's not needed, I don't understand. So my daughter's horse gets along just fine. He'll neck rein, he'll do whatever she wants him to do in a snaffle bit, but she can't show him unless he's wearing this. And this is one that we've found that he tolerates generally well. He doesn't mind this bit. So we let him, and she has very quiet hands, but she's still a kid, and she's had lots of riding lessons, and I feel like some of those rules should change. To me, I don't think that there is a lot of full bridle horses out there that should have to carry around something like that. And I don't think that there is a lot. I know there's a ton of really good riders, and don't get me wrong when I say this. And I know that there's a ton of kids out there that are really good riders. So don't misinterpret what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's all these people out there fighting for bitless bridles or fighting to ride bridleless. And I think that horse shows would benefit greatly from a little bit of that movement. I think that when you watch a kid with a horse and a shank bit and a strong bridle get mad because they lost and reef on the horse's reins, that kind of just, you know, I understand where a lot of the bits are abuse mentality comes from, because I don't think bits are abuse, but in that situation when you have a kid who is not old enough to control their emotions, and you put them on an animal who is at the liberty to obey this small human who is not capable of controlling their emotions, and this child takes advantage of the bit as a form of punishment, I think that's a problem. And it is not all people at horse shows, and it is not all riders. I get that, but I feel like that would be a really great change in the horse show community, is that rule, because I feel like I said, not all horses are at the full bridle potential at over the age of 6, and not all kids are mature enough to think about what that bit is doing to their horse at that moment. All they see is that they lost the class and they're mad at their horse because their horse did one little thing wrong. And that's not fair. It's not fair to anybody. And I know that it's hard for me. It's hard for me to watch that kind of stuff. Because if my kid was doing that, I'd push her off her horse. So that's a little bit of my soapbox. That's my biggest issue with bits, is some of the requirements for horse shows. I think that I don't understand why a horse and a kid that are perfectly capable of getting along fine in a snaffle bit can't continue to ride in a snaffle bit. And that's kind of, I think, would be like, I get the transition from the snaffle bit to the full bride. Well, technically, if you're technically speaking, even in 4-H rules, it's recognized that you should have the snaffle bit, the bozal, and then I can never say that word. The snaffle bit, the bozal, and then the full bridle. That step that's missing in a horse's education today is that transition period. And the bigger step that's missing in that is the education of the child that is showing these animals. And I think that there's plenty of horses that get along just fine in the horse show world, that, you know, they're just willing to do it. But I just think we can do better. I just feel like we could do better as an equine community to make that little bit of bits better. And I think that would be a good first step. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Like, are you kind of understanding my drift here? Like I get bits, and I like bits for the purpose that I am riding them in. But if I wanted to go turn around and show my horse, and I was told that I had to use a shank bit with a curb strap, that kind of, like, I could do it because I wouldn't necessarily need to rely on my bit to maneuver my horse. But my horse is also not really prepared enough to, there's just so much in between. There's so much gray area. And I feel like bits are really complicated. Bits are very complicated, and there's not enough education out there. I know I preach that every single video, but there's just not enough education out there. And kids are just thrown into one bit to the next, and their horse doesn't listen, so they get thrown into a stronger bit. And then the horse gives up and just does what it's told. And I think that that's wrong. I don't know. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Let me know what you think, and let's have a great conversation about it, because I think there needs to be more conversation about bits. And I think people should not. My other soapbox item is, if you don't know about the bit that you're using on your animal, I would encourage you to educate yourself. Take a look at it. See if it's something that's really working for you and your animal. And if you can do better, do better. If you can get more education, get more education. And if you can get a better understanding, get a better understanding, because not everybody is going to agree on what is the best way, but I think the more that we talk about our why and the more that we talk about the things that we're doing, the better off the equine community is gonna be. And so that's where I'm at. That's what I think. That's all I got on bits. I'm not a bit expert. I can't name off every bit that there is known to man because my bit use is very limited to snaffles and the few curb bits that I have to use, or my daughter has to use for showing. That's pretty much all I got. So I want to know your why. I want to know what type of bit you use. I want to know why you use it. And I want to know if you've fully thought about the bit that you put in your horse's mouth. Comment down below. So in conclusion to today's video, I am not anti-bit. I am anti-abusive bit. So there are a lot of bits out there that I don't like and that I think that in the wrong hands can do a lot of damage. I think that there is a lack of education about what people are putting in their horses' mouths, and I think that that can get better. I also think that there are lots of horse people out there who fully are aware of what they're doing, and they're doing it because it's worked best for them their whole life. But I also think that we can learn more and we can do more to be better. And I'm not saying that I am the best at everything, because I'm not. A lot of what I've learned and a lot of where I am coming from is based on my years of experience and what I have found to work best for myself. But I'm not the type of person who will say I would never use, well, with bits, there are some things I would never do, but in general terms, I'm not the type of person to say never, but I want to know why. There are some bits that I would never put in my horse's mouth, but there's some crazy bits out there. Like this bit. I would never put this bit in my horse's mouth. I would never put this horse in my bit's mouth. This horse in my bit's mouth. I would never put this bit in my horse's mouth. So you know, but I'm not gonna be the type to put myself in a box. I like to understand why things are done. This looks like it was homemade even. It's like welded. That's crazy. I don't even know where I was going with this because I am highly distracted. I don't think that we should shame people for their lack of knowledge. But I do think that it is important that we do what best we can to get the education out there and to have them seek a better understanding of what they're putting in their horse's mouth. And I just, you know, that's my 2 cents. I don't dislike bits. There's some bits I don't like. And that's as clear as mud. I really want to know what you guys think though, so don't forget to comment down below. I want to know what your experiences are. I want to know what type of bit you use and why. Thanks for watching.